Okay. How to start a freaking intro. Bruh, how to start a freaking week. So if y'all haven't heard by now, breaking news across the entirety of the gaming industry, Microsoft has officially acquired Zenimax Media. Now, for those who are unaware or who might not be too familiar with who Zenimax Media is, they are the parent company of Bethesda, which also means that they own all this shit too.
How did you get the house back from the bank?
I bought the bank.
Is this a dream? Is it a dream within a dream? Yo, somebody get Christopher Nolan on the line because I cannot even begin to decipher this shit. But then again, maybe calling Nolan's probably not the best idea since I can't understand half the shit people say in his movies. Why do you keep screwing up the sound mix, man?
Nigga! Help me!
But yes, ladies and gentlemen, Microsoft has bought Bethesda, which effectively means they own everything. They own the rights to franchises such as Doom, The Elder Scrolls, Prey, Dishonored, Wolfenstein, the upcoming Starfield, and of course, I think why they spent so much money they did, Skyrim. We're gonna be getting Skyrim every day from now until the end of eternity. Hold up, wait a minute. Is that any different from what we've been experiencing now? In an all-cash deal for $7.5 billion. To put it into perspective for y'all, that is $200 million shy of the collective worldwide box office gross of all 4 Avengers movies. Microsoft spent that amount of money to acquire Doom Guy, which, if I'm being honest, is a pretty damn good deal because Doom Guy's awesome. In all seriousness, though, wow. Wow is not even the word I'd use to describe this. We've had a lot of discussions, especially the past couple of months, about Microsoft buying studios. It's no shock to anybody that they have been on a studio acquisition spree. For the better part of 2 years, they've been trying their best to bolster their Xbox game studio lineup for 2 particular reasons. It should come as no shocker to anybody, but Microsoft's first party offering this generation has been less than stellar. While we do have some really great gems sprinkled in, such as the Ori duology, and of course Forza Horizon is an always consistent series, every single one of their other games falls into 3 types of camps. Number 1 is the tried and true staples, where not much is really changing in the game, but for a lot of people, that's okay. Those are your Gears of Wars and your Forza Motorsport series. Number 2 is we tried to do some experimental shit, and it really didn't work out in our favor. Those are games such as Rise and Quantum Break. And then number 3, which unfortunately has been the trend for a lot of their games as of late, will just release it and then fix it as time goes on. That, of course, being State of Decay, Sea of Thieves, and Crack. Well, they never ended up fixing that game. And I'm not gonna lie, as a gamer, seeing Xbox not really firing on all cylinders has been kind of disheartening. With the delay of Halo Infinite and then launching a new console with basically nothing but more horsepower than the competition? Has that historically worked out without having the games to back that horsepower? It was looking kind of rough, but if there is anything that Xbox Game Showcase in July did tell us is that, hey, we listened to you, those games are coming, albeit not for 2 to 3 years. And while this acquisition of ZeniMax Media doesn't necessarily fix the waiting problem that comes with those games, it definitely shows that Microsoft is invested in the future of Game Pass. Notice I didn't say the future of Xbox, because their future is going to be Game Pass. I think we've all basically accepted at this point that Microsoft has been less about selling actual hardware and being more about a cohesive and coherent ecosystem for you, the consumer. Of course, you have the traditional way of playing your games on your consoles, but as we've seen this generation, they've doubled down on their PC support. They're bringing games back onto PC, releasing them on their store in addition to Steam. They've experimented with bringing some of their titles to the Switch, like Cuphead and Ori, and now with the advent of game streaming, Xbox xCloud program, that right there is essentially just another affirmation to this whole vision of Microsoft, where it's no longer about Xbox being the sole console where you game, but about how much of Xbox they can put on all your other devices. Regardless of whether or not you play these games on your console, on your PC, on Steam, on your Switch, or you stream it, Microsoft is still making money at the end of the day. But it opens up so much more interesting discussions to have. First things first, talking about, well, of course, the elephant in the room. Microsoft has acquired Zenimax Media. Bethesda is one of the biggest third-party publishers in all of gaming. They have so many franchises under their belt. What does this mean going forward? Are these games going to be fully exclusive to Xbox? Are they still going to be multiplat? What's the thing? Now, I'm not an industry analyst. I don't get paid enough to make these predictions on what this company is going to do with their billion-trillion-dollar acquisition or whatever. But if I were a betting man, if I had to talk about what they're going to do going forward, I think it's going to be a little bit of everything. First things first, Phil Spencer has clarified as far as the exclusivity is concerned for the upcoming games Deathloop in addition to Tokyo Ghostwire. Both of these games are coming from Bethesda, but they have a timed exclusivity deal with PlayStation. So those games are going to launch first on PlayStation 5 for however long it may be, 6 months, a year, we just don't know. But with the acquisition of Zenimax, Phil Spencer has essentially said that, yeah, we are going to honor all those deals that are currently in place. Now, those are for things that are in place, games that are going to be like, what, maybe a year, 18 months out. What does that mean for all the other titles that are still in development? They're probably like 3, 4, 5 years off, or games that haven't even been greenlit yet. Could those games be multiplat, or are they going to be Xbox PC streaming exclusivity hybrids? And I think that is going to be on a case-by-case basis. I believe that Microsoft are going to evaluate the games and put them on the platforms that they seem best. So take, for example, something like The Elder Scrolls Online. I don't think it would make much sense for Microsoft to limit that game to one console. Just have it on the Xbox and then have it on the PC. You know, those type of games, big MMO titles, talking about some things like Fallout 76, these games as a service, you know, reoccurring revenue, where it's not necessarily about, you know, the one-time purchase you get into the game, but it's how many times they can get you to keep spending money, whether it's a reoccurring monthly payment like an MMO, or you just buying a whole bunch of stuff in the in-game store. If I were Microsoft, I would keep all of those games multi-platform, make the most amount of money that is physically possible, because that's just the trend in the industry, which is why, you know, MLB is going to become a multi-platform game again. The show was previously PlayStation exclusive. Now it's coming to everything. And you would think that Sony would care about losing an exclusive title such as MLB, but I think even Sony realizes that, hey, this is the leading baseball game. It's practically the only baseball game worth playing right now. So in order for us to keep them licensed to keep making all this money off of it, if we have to make it multiplat, sure, go ahead. You're not losing the PlayStation audience by making it multiplat. They're still going to play the game on PlayStation, but now you have people on the PC, Xbox, and the Switch who are going to be able to experience that kind of game, which I think the same logic will apply to Bethesda. They're going to evaluate the games that are going to be best fit for all these other consoles, and then for some other smaller passion projects, maybe those will be exclusive to the Xbox family of systems. Maybe those games will launch early on Xbox. So let's just say, for example, the next Elder Scrolls game, going to be a big title. Let's say it has a year-long exclusivity on consoles for Xbox. There are a lot of people out there who love the Elder Scrolls that much that they might think about going and buying an Xbox, or they might build a PC to play that game. The key point in this entire scenario is that Microsoft still makes money. And this might sound really weird considering Microsoft just spent close to $10 billion on this acquisition. I think making all of those big established IPs, making them exclusive to Xbox, might do a lot more harm than good. A game like Skyrim, which sold 20 plus million copies across basically all systems from PS3, 360, PC, re-releases on next generation consoles, re-releases for VR support, coming out on the Nintendo Switch, like that game has legs, it has a healthy life, so why would Microsoft want to sacrifice all that revenue to where it's only on 2 platforms? Only 2. They'll still be making money regardless of the fact that it is available on PlayStation. So while it may seem counterproductive that Microsoft is not going to make all of these big games exclusives from the studios that they literally spent, $8 billion on, I think there's a lot more wiggle room than a lot of people realize to figure out what works best for each studio, what works best for each project, and then all the other financial number mumbo jumbo thingy-mabobbers that people have to crunch. Now, there is one thing though that we know for certain is going to benefit Xbox. In the short term, in the long term, it doesn't matter. They're going to reap the benefits of this, and that is how much this bolsters Xbox Game Pass's credibility. Now, Game Pass has already done a great job at selling itself. It's the best value in all of gaming. And while it has received some flack in recent months as we've seen the contract work really come into play, I'm of course referring to the fact that not all games remain on the service. Red Dead Redemption 2 and Devil May Cry 5, which were some of the biggest titles on the platform, have been removed from Game Pass, which has prompted a lot of people to question the validity of the service. You're essentially renting games. These games are only on the service for 8 to 9 months. So what game can I play on Game Pass where I don't have to worry about being on a trial, where there's limited amount of time left to play these games? That being the Xbox Game Studio exclusive titles. Now, it remains to be seen as far as future-proofing is concerned, but every single one of the Xbox Game Studio's titles is on Game Pass. And of course, you are going to run into some licensing issues, say Forza Horizon, for example, but for the most part, it looks like all of the Xbox Game Studio titles are going to be available on Game Pass from now until they decide to shut down the service. Having those games, which is the established studios, 15 studios, and now adding in the 8, all of Zenimax's games, day one. That's the next Doom. That's the next Elder Scrolls. That's the next Starfield. That's the next Prey. That's the next Wolfenstein. That is a major win. Because look at it like this. Perfect scenario. The next Elder Scrolls game comes out on PlayStation 5. $70. Comes out on Steam. $70. Game Pass console and Game Pass PC. That game is free if you pay $10 a month. For a lot of people out there who don't really even care about gaming that much, if they can play a new release for that monthly cost and have it stay on that service, it's a win-win for them. And like I keep mentioning about Microsoft, they're doing all of these crazy things to try to really entice the consumer. A lot of people question the ownership of Game Pass. Are you renting games? Well, yeah, you're renting games. It's like any other service out there. You're on Netflix, you're renting their experiences. You're on Hulu, you're renting their experiences. So Game Pass is no different. The only difference is, and this is the key critical point, the games that are on Game Pass, if you choose to buy to own, they are discounted and they are on sale. There's great incentive to be a part of this ecosystem with Game Pass. And if you so choose, you can go out there and you can buy a physical copy of these games on Xbox, so you don't have to worry about digital rights management. So Xbox has basically become the jack of all trades when it comes to offering options. Play truly doesn't have any limit in this case. Holy shit, the jokes write themselves. But to play devil's advocate for a second, I do want to point out the major elephant in the room. With such a major acquisition like this, will it really benefit Xbox Game Studios prospects in the long run? Because we know Bethesda still has games in the pipeline, games they've been working on, games that are going to be coming out. Does this necessarily change much that's happening with the current Xbox Studio situation? No, it doesn't, because, well, let's be real about life for a second. Nothing is going to change in the next 2 to 3 years. Those games that we saw, Fable, Avowed, all of those titles, they are still going to be in development. So if you're expecting this acquisition to turn the tide in the favor of you buying an Xbox day one and having games to play, it's really not going to do much. You know, you still have to wait and see. You got to take a wait and see approach with all these things to see if it truly plays out in Microsoft's favor. They've been doing a lot of good things right this generation, but remember, the games need to do the talking. All this stuff about services and studio acquisitions, oh, that stuff is great to ponder at. But if no great games come from that, dead in the water. That being said, your boy is still excited at the prospects of this acquisition. Just think about it for a second. Microsoft spent all this money to acquire these studios, to acquire the talent and the technology that talent has developed. Could you imagine taking the id Tech engine and retrofitting that with another franchise and then giving us a revival of a classic Xbox IP? Could you imagine if Obsidian got a chance to work on Fallout New Vegas 2? Like, the possibilities really are endless. But again, gotta let the games do the talking. But that's all I got for y'all today. What do you think about the Xbox Game Studio acquisition of ZeniMax Media, all of Bethesda properties? Do you think this is a good move for gaming? Do you truly think this is anti-consumer? They are becoming the Disney of gaming. They own everything. They're out here buying all these studios like they're Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, saying, oh, fine, I'll just do it myself. Or do you think this is just all smoke and mirrors to cover up from the fact that Craig will not be available at launch in his fully ray-traced glory? Comment down below and let me know. But from me to you for now, my name is NGS signing out. And like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.